horses. That's my catchphrase. We are Hoggin the mic. Eddie might be dead. We don't know where he is. He's somewhere in between Portugal and the United States, or in Portugal. I'm your host, Shake by Heinicke. I'm your name now. Eddie's not in control. We've taken over. And we also have Turner's Gotta Go, Max Bacon. We are coming off a win. That's weird.
It is very weird.
We're not used to that.
I feel like right now, normally we'd be playing the Benny Hill theme song, and we very well may later in the show. But, we'll save that for now. I am a little concerned about Eddie. Last I saw on his girlfriend's Facebook story, they were playing Ouija in Portugal, and we haven't heard from him since. So.
Gone. We need a new host.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. It was a good run. He made it like almost half the season. We don't have to hear any wrestling like talk now. We don't have to hear the any shill for Blue Bard Cage, which I just did. Eddie, that'll be $10. So I don't know. Maybe we don't need him. He's done.
That's okay. I will say that it looked like he was having a great time there in Portugal, but I don't know. It looked like you might have had just as good of a time in Chicago. How was it?
I brought home a W and like 20 extra pounds because I ate like a king there. Chicago, by the way, is a wonderful place. That was my first time in Chicago ever, which I've been like a lot of places. Chicago is beautiful, nice people, beautiful city. Like I didn't realize how lovely that place was. Brought to you by the tourism and industry, recreational industries of Chicago. Food there is amazing. Everything about that place. But more importantly, I went to Soldier Field and had a great time there. They threw a wonderful tailgate. So I went with, as Hoggin the Mic members might know, I went with the Swede. We went to Chicago. And
Old Martine.
What's that?
Old Martine.
Old Martine. We show up and we check in our hotels. We left the day of the game. We show up to the tailgate, and the first thing that we see, I introduce myself to like who we know, and then they have a what they call I'm trying to remember the name, the Hallis Tower, I think it is, which is like their owner, Hallis, and it's this wooden ladder with these two buckets on top. These two buckets with a tap. One is blue juice in it, one is orange juice in it. They're like, you guys, Hallis Tower. So literally we walked in this tailgate from landing in a plane, checking a hotel, go under a tower, and they unleash a tap and you just chug whatever alcoholic, lovely drink they had for as long as you can go. And that's how we got introduced into the tailgate.
That's cool. Like that kind of reminds me of the Ice Luge in Chicago or in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. I told them that I was like, the only time that I got shoved into just doing shit was Cincinnati. I was like, so here's Chicago, and within 5 seconds of like, hey, I'm Kenny. Oh, we're just chugging alcohol like underneath a bucket. It was nuts. The whole tailgate was super friendly. All the PFUFA ones are, but the fans in the stadium were super nice. The whole experience we'll get to it. That was the worst game I've ever seen in my entire life live from both sides. I've seen us play like shit. I've never seen both teams play like shit.
Did it make you feel any better?
What's that?
I said, did it make you feel any better?
That I watched two teams play like shit?
That we're not the only ones.
Well, okay, funny thing. So I had a lot of friends texting me after that game, and they're like, yo, did you hear? Their fans were chanting, sell the team. There was enough like Redskin or Commander fans there chanting, sell the team, like it got on TV. And I was like, no. Those were Bears fans. The Bears fans hate Hallis and that family so much that like it was weird. We were sitting in the stands and it was like second quarter and like a huge sell the team chant started. And I was like, oh, everyone hates Snyder. Sell the team. And then they all looked at us and they're like, why are you all chanting? And we're like, we hate Snyder. And they're like, no, we hate Hallis. Screw that guy. And I was like, oh, we can all come together as two miserable franchises hating our owners. Ours also is just a bad person as well. I think theirs might be too.
No, that's cool though. Like I kind of feel bad for another franchise having to suffer in the same way as we do, but we came out on top, so that was cool. How quickly did you have to get to the stadium? Like, I know you flew in the same day. Like, was it pretty close or?
I did it so that like we had at least 4 to 5 hours of tailgate. Like
Okay.
we checked in the hotel like 1:30. Game is 7 o'clock because it's out in the Midwest, but
Central time.
that's the one I was looking for. A time zone between East and West. So we literally checked in like 1:30, and I texted the girl I was talking to, and I was like, "Hey, what time is tailgate?" She's like, "We've been here since 8 a.m." So I said, "Oh my god!" So like Martin and I just like got an Uber, went to the tailgate. We got there by 2 o'clock. Tailgated till about 6 because it was like a mile from the stadium, and walked. So a lot of their fans actually can't stand their ownership right now because I don't know if you heard, but they're building a new stadium out in the middle of nowhere. And Soldier Field, I did not know this. Soldier Field might be in the most beautiful part of Chicago. You've got the most beautiful, like Millennium Park with the bean, with the most famous part. That's right next to the stadium with like a bunch of green areas. It's next to a harbor. It's right on the lake. They are putting this thing like an hour into the suburbs, apparently. And all their fans were like, "What are you doing?" And I was telling them, I said, it's cheap land. Like the city of Chicago doesn't want to pay for it, but some county out in the middle of nowhere will. Like we did the same thing with Landover.
No, I mean, I never would have thought. I mean, it's such like it's got so much like historical, like this is where, offenses go to die and whatnot. You wouldn't think it'd be in like the middle of a green pasture. So that's interesting to hear.
Well, also what's crazy about Soldier Field and what I really did like about it, because like it's known for like it's really shitty field and whatever, but so you have the structure of the stadium looks like ancient, and even on one side facing the harbor, I didn't know they had this. You walk out in this like marble platform with columns. It reminded me of DC like columns, like old school columns, and it overlooks the whole harbor. And you're in this part of the stadium that's not connected. It's connected to the stadium, but it's like this whole like just chill hangout area. There's nothing there. It's just beautiful marble overlooking the harbor with columns that are 100 years old. And on top of that are these glass futuristic clubs that like suites that they built to be like, hey, we're not old. So you have like these ancient Roman columns sitting here, and then this like futuristic glass like dome above it. It looks insane. And it looks like they did a really good job like improving it, but I understand it's old. The stadium didn't feel old when you're walking through it. I walked through a lot of that stadium. Didn't feel old.
Not like FedEx.
FedEx feels like, I mean, it's just decaying because they didn't do anything to it. Soldier Field has a personality inside of it. I did really like what I saw when I was in that stadium. And I think their fans obviously love that stadium. It's from ancient times.
Do you think that possibly you like the stadium so much because the product on the field was so garbage looking?
Well, that's the thing. I had all these thoughts before I even saw the game. So like I got a way to like judge it before I barfed on myself for 4 straight quarters. Because I got to the point where like their fans and our fans at the end of the game were just like, no one's happy. No one's happy. Y'all lost a shitty game. We won a shitty game. I don't feel good about it. We're 2-4. And we look. This was before the whole. We'll get to that in a second. It's before the whole Carson Wentz thing happened. But it was like, what am I taking from this win? That if we were a mediocre team, we would have won this game 75-0 because we won this game 12-7. It was awful.
Yeah, Chicago looked bad. They got to be a little bit concerned about where Justin Fields is at this point in his career. I mean, I would if I was a Bears fan, but. Again, he was not getting a lot of help. Like Darnell Mooney, he's a good receiver and all, but you got to give your young quarterbacks lots of protection and lots of weapons for them to be able to succeed. And like our pass rush was getting home. Sweat had another good game. But again, the sight for sore eyes on our team is the offense. Once again, offensive line looked awful. In turn, it doesn't help Wentz, but Wentz looks awful on his own anyway. So I mean, all in all, we got the win, but it was like literally against one of the worst teams I've seen play all year by an inch.
Right. And we shouldn't have won that game. Like we lost the Titans on a last second play. The Bears had this exact same thing happen where it was, and the thing was, not only did they have that happen, there was a play where their tight end, I think it was their tight end, was wide open. And it was just like overthrown. It was just like, what is going, like, what am I watching? There is no way the Commanders should have won that game. I will give us props. Our defense looked great again. I'm starting to think, and I hate it because I don't like Jack Del Rio, but it looks like he had made adjustments. Now, granted, we have played some pretty bad teams. We play the Packers this coming week. I don't even know if we can judge them very well because they're not playing well at all right now. I want to see us play a few like mediocre, like real mediocre to good teams before I judge them. But it looks like we've made the changes. One of them is William Jackson III being nowhere near the field.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Trade rumors abound with him. He says he did not want to be traded. Washington says he does. So it's kind of one of those things like, even if you don't want to be traded, sounds like you're on your way out anyway, buddy.
The talk between him, the coaches, the fact that like he's got a back injury ? Like he was never injured. And then it's like he might not play. Well, of course he might not play. The coaches hate him. We hate him.
He's still on the field. He's still on the field. Like even with the back injury, supposedly. But yeah, I think we'll probably try to cut bait with and maybe get a 6th or 7th round pick from a man corner needy team and be done with that contract. Yeah, exactly. Right. So
get a 6th rounder. But I do want to talk about probably the biggest ass in the room, and that is Heinicke. I want to talk about the reason why I might have that much hope again for the season. Because with Carson Wentz, I had all but given up on winning more than 2 more games all year. I have hope that we can win again, especially if our defense can. So I was joking with you guys on the thread earlier about how just what we do to all of our mediocre to good at best quarterbacks is the moment they come in, our defense just falls apart. So watch Heinicke have like this 350-yard, 4-touchdown game. He loses, and everyone's like, didn't make a difference. While I just watched Carson Wentz struggle and not. So once again, that Bears game, the Bears are not good. Carson Wentz had 99 yards of not even net offense, not counting the sacks, of real throwing offense.
It was bad.
99. I had 99 yards of throwing offense on Thursday, and I was drunk in the stands. So I don't know why Carson Wentz is not throwing for 100 yards. Also, here we go, Ron Rivera. Here we go. I'm angry again. I came into this podcast today calm because Eddie's not here. He's not here to stress me out. And now I'm all frazzled. And I'm frazzled because Ron Rivera, granted, Carson Wentz could have been sitting there bleeding out of his ring finger with bone sticking out and been like, I'm fine. And then Ron Rivera's like, okay, but you're the head coach. Why is a guy playing with a broken finger? Why isn't he getting x-rays in the middle of this game? I'm watching this live in the stands, and he looks like he's struggling to throw the ball.
That was weird. I do agree.
Like there was a time I even was talking to guys around me in the stadium. I'm going, you guys don't have to even cover 10 yards deep. Carson Wentz is not looking anywhere past 10 yards. Like he's given up on that because his fingers were mangled. And it's like, where's the coaching? Where's the leadership that says, hey, guy that obviously is doing like a shot put to get, I watched Russell Wilson do the same thing, but I think their coach is a hack. Pun intended. But he's like one of the worst coaches of the Denver Broncos coach. And I'm watching Russell Wilson run around doing shot puts with a torn hamstring and a torn rotator cuff. And I'm like, this coach sucks. Take him out of the game. Ron Rivera is a terrible football coach. And I'm watching this guy with 99 yards not throwing. I'm like, we have Heinicke right there. Put him in this game. If Heinicke goes to that Bears game, it's over by the 3rd quarter. And I don't care if he's good or not because the Bears were so bad.
Yeah. So it's pretty sad we can fit the whole entire game right here on this little screen because I mean, we had 3 scoring plays. They had 1. Kudos to our defense once again. So we had 2 slot field goals. We had 1 missed field goal that almost cost us the game. And,
we want to talk about that too.
We definitely do. We'll get to that in a minute. And then, of
Eddie
course,
will just pop on out of the ether just to scream at Joey Sly and then pop back off.
Tell him to cut him. Yeah. So then of course the inaugural Brian Robinson touchdown run, that was really, really cool that you got to see his first one in person.
Only thing that was good about that game.
Yep. So Wentz 99 yards, Robinson 60 yards, and a touchdown on 17 carries, and Terry McLaurin 3 receptions, 41 yards. One of the things I'm excited about with Heinicke coming in, I do feel like Terry McLaurin's got to get more involved. He loved throwing to McLaurin whenever he was our guy last year.
Terry McLaurin should be on the injury list right now as probable because he had to go see a doctor for his erection that has lasted more than 4 hours, because he should be so excited that Taylor Heinicke and not some decrepit old ginger man is throwing a football near him and not to him.
Yeah, you're right.
Terry McLaurin, you know what? Bold prediction, 12 catches, 240 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Hey, that'd be awesome. We saw a lot of Heinicke last year. We had our highs and lows. 1 minute we're crowning him our guy. The next minute we're saying, who else do we have that we can put in? Hopefully we get the good Heinicke. I will say he'll benefit. We will benefit from his mobility because our offensive line's terrible. Wentz has lost a few steps, obviously. You could see that in the Titans game whenever he got chased down trying to outrun a defender to the sidelines, and it was their big defensive tackle that never should be able to chase down a quarterback. So his mobility is going to be nice, and hopefully, it'll extend some plays. Speaking of, one of the big problems that we had was stopping Mr. Justin Fields with his 12 carries and 88 yards. He was their leading rusher. Honestly, if they would not have went away from letting him run the ball, I feel like they would have scored more than 7 points. It's like they would do it, and then they'd be scared he gets hurt or something, and they quit doing it.
I've noticed that. I think that's more on Justin Fields, though, because he would break a run. That last drive where we had the sack fumble, and we should have ended the game, and we didn't. And it was either the next play or 2 plays later, and he just takes off down the field for 50 yards, juking our defensive backs like they just don't know that this guy is slightly fast because they're all square up and he just goes around them. And he almost scored a touchdown on that play, which almost won them the game. And it was just we have to do one thing. Justin Fields cannot throw. They cannot run, but he can run. And he's the only reason they're beating us. And we refuse to even acknowledge that. The good thing about the Packers is if Aaron Rodgers is playing how Aaron Rodgers has been playing, he can't run. The throwing hasn't been there. They just lost Cobb. All we got to do is kind of just make sure that he just doesn't throw 70-yard touchdowns on us. But that's what we do best.
Well, we will see. I don't think there's much more to say about the Bears game.
Well, we got to do grades.
Oh, hold on. We were going to talk about the inexcusable Joey Sly missed field goal. All right. So me and you both, we're in agreement. If you're not a Hall of Fame kicker, through week 3, it's okay. As long as you're making most of your kicks and you're, hitting your extra points, obviously. But in a spot like that, whenever you can take a 8-point lead versus a 5-point lead at the end of the game, you can't miss those kicks.
The reason why we don't have Dustin Hopkins currently on our football team, and if you look at him, I think he ended up being in Redskins history, the 2nd or 3rd most accurate kicker we've ever had. The problem is with what I had with him even is it was Dustin Hopkins, I need you to make 4 meaningless field goals. And he was done. Dustin Hopkins, I need you to make 1 easy, meaningful field goal. He's no, I can't do that. You're asking too much. And that's what was killing me. Every time it was Dustin Hopkins, just put this game away. He'd be I missed the ball. What is a football? Am I even alive? And it was what? Dude, we just need you to make 1 more. I just saw that happen with Joey Sly. Joey Sly, he's made a couple field goals this year, when they really didn't. It didn't matter. The middle of the game. I mean, every field goal matters, but like the end of that game, all you do is you make a 40-plus yard field goal. You're up by 8. You let the defense take over. And worst case scenario, they have to travel 80 yards and get the 2-point conversion. And he misses that, and they were 5 yards away from winning the entire game because Joey Slye doesn't make a field goal. That's strike 1. You get
Strike
3,
1.
and then you're gone.
Fair enough. I'm with you.
Eddie says that's strike 470 for some reason. And he literally watched Joey Slye be born yesterday. Like he held Joey Slye's infant body in his hands. It was like, I hate you.
We could have Justin Tucker on our team and Eddie wouldn't be happy. So anyway, let's get to our grades for the game. You want to go first this time?
I'll do it. I'll go first. We'll start off with the offense. I'm going to do the offense as a whole. I'm going to give them a big old 0. I don't grade things that I can't grade because they're that bad. I can't go to my school and say, hey, kids, I need you to make arts and crafts. And then they throw up on me and they're like, how's that? Because that's what Carson Wentz does. And it's disgusting. So you know what? I'm sorry. I don't want to put Brian Robinson in that category. I'm giving the offense a D- because of Brian Robinson. And I'm giving Carson Wentz a 0 because he threw up on me.
Fair enough. You want me to give my offense or
do offense and Carson? We'll move on from there.
I mean, I don't think you said anything wrong. Carson Wentz didn't even throw for 100 yards. He broke his finger because he was playing so bad. And, he didn't really do anything good. Brian Robinson was the only bright spot in the whole offense. So, yeah, D- sounds great.
D- sounds great. Also, I'm pretty sure Carson Wentz's finger broke out of just ended its own life. It was like, ew, you're so bad, rest of your hand, and just took its own life and that was it, shattered upon being depressed. So defense, A. Not an A+. I can't do that. I mean, I should do that because our offense did nothing, and my problem is there's not enough I give an A+ for more takeaways. I don't think we make as many big plays as I would like to. But that performance was as A as you can get for an offense that refused to do anything all game.
But yeah. I mean, we only allowed 7 points. The big strike for me against them was letting Justin Fields run for almost 100 yards. But I mean, it was kind of a bend but don't break, and they had the big stand at the end of the game. So overall, because really, what do we have? We had a turnover, correct?
The one that was tipped at the very beginning of the game when because that was the thing. They almost scored a touchdown in the beginning. It was tipped, and Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, one of those guys intercepted it, which was great.
We didn't do anything off that though. I think we got a field goal or something like that.
No, we were down. We stopped them from scoring was the bigger part of that. And I don't believe we had another turnover. I think we stopped them on 4 downs again when they were on our own 3-yard line.
Yeah,
so another big defensive stand. But I need to see more game-changing plays, as in they're on their own 20, sack, fumble, touchdown, which we don't do. I mean, after Chase Young went down with a ruptured lower half of his body, because I don't think he's coming back this year, we haven't been able to make any plays like that.
Yeah, so I'll say B+. You gave him an A-, I'll give him a B+. I think that's fair. And special teams?
Special teams, I got to do an F, and all because of this one Joey Slye miss. I mean, Tressway, we love him, but special teams, once again, I don't like talking about them. If I had to talk about them, what's that?
Tress had a bad punt.
He had a bad punt, but that'll happen, especially if you punt 12 times a game. Because we're Tressway, guess what? You're our number 1 player. You get the most reps out of everybody because the rest of our team sucks. And it's going to happen. We kind of agreed on this before. I don't like talking about special teams. I hate talking about special teams because it's never good. That's why I love talking about special teams. Remember that kick return for a touchdown? Remember that punt return? Remember that block punt? That doesn't happen. All I see is bad things, and there's another bad that misses an F. That misses an F for the whole special teams.
Yeah, all right. I'm with you. I'm gonna go with a D. So I think we've kind of made our points about coaching. We can give them a grade. I'll quickly get mine out of the way because I know you've got a few things to say. I would say that the best coach of the game was Jack Del Rio. I'll give him a B plus. The worst coach of the game was Scott Turner because our offense was god awful, and Ron Rivera is just complicit in the awfulness. So overall, the coaching as a whole, we got the win, but it was still a D coaching job.
I mean, I'm going to agree with all that. I think it's Ron Rivera to me, who's not, like I said, the biggest concern I had was after hearing that Carson Wentz played basically a half with a broken finger. And where once this is, it's not as severe and exaggerated as RG3 with Shanahan, like letting him run what was going on, then ruining our entire, future. But where is the leadership on this team? Ron Rivera was brought in as a riverboat Ron. He doesn't take any guff. But if a quarterback that's 98 years old says, I want to throw with two fingers, he says, okay. So great, Ron Rivera. I can be complacent and do the exact same coaching job you just did. And I shouldn't be a head coach in the NFL. If I can do your job sitting 28 rows up into the stands, you shouldn't be a coach.
Fair enough.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, before we get into the next game, we got to talk about also the Heinicke-sized elephant in the room. But this Heinicke comes in the form of one that was touched by an owner. Because we have had some breaking news in the last 48 hours.
Yes, we have. Sell the team, Dan.
Sell the team. And we're not the only ones saying it anymore.
I know. It was great. I think I sent a lot of excited memes to everybody that sent that to me, that Jim Irsay has called out Dan Snyder, says there's merit for him to sell the team, and that they may have the votes to do so. So that's very, very exciting news. I hope that it comes through. I don't know what kind of dirt he's got on these people.
Well, here's the thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter so here's my theory. Al Michaels goes on national TV last week and he talks about Dan Snyder. He does not do that unless he's given a green light, because they don't want Al Michaels just shitting on the NFL in a very an announcer talking about the owners. That's not a good look. The green light is we got to make this guy look as bad as possible. Let me not point at you. Make this guy look as bad as possible, so that when things do happen and he has things to say, no one wants to listen to him because he's an awful person. If Al Michaels is saying it, and I'm pretty sure these owners were given the green light to discuss it. Now, maybe Jim Irsay was like, fuck it. I don't even care anymore. All my skeletons are out of the closet. Why do I have to watch what I say? And he went a little above and beyond. But I'm pretty sure they've been given the green light too. You can all talk to reporters now, because we need to paint Dan Snyder in a picture that when we take him down, he's going to have dirt on some people, and everyone's going to be like, no one cares, Dan, you're going to prison.
That's the goal. It's just been a cesspool of awfulness coming from Dan. Obviously, from the problem is from the top down. There's reasons why the football team struggles. It's not all on Dan Snyder, obviously, but when you have a crap organization, a crap owner, maybe some guys don't want to come there to play. Maybe you're not going to get the best coaches because you got somebody like that's in control, and nobody wants to have anything to do with it, and I don't blame them.
Oh yeah, the organization is bottom 3 organizations. I pay attention to a lot of sports. I pay attention to a lot of teams. Obviously, I'm very invested in this one more than the others, but this has to be a bottom 3 organization in all 4 major sports, from top to bottom. And I think it's one of the biggest failures of a long span of time. There's a lot of failures that happen. You hear about these all the time, where it's 5 to 10 years, and then everyone just gets canned. And because usually it's the owner just hires bad people. Usually the owner's not involved with it too. And if the owner is, he puts people around him to make it better, where Dan Snyder has put people around him to make it worse. And then Roger Goodell, I think, is also to blame for part of this. I feel like with Jason Wright, he's putting people in to just like put a cloth on the fire, but then that catches on fire.
Yeah.
Jason Wright, when he came here, we're like, okay, new blood. This is not Bruce Allen. Here we go. And it's like, no, this guy's he's a doofus as anyone else that I've seen come over here.
He's a yes man and a puppet, simply.
Yeah, right. Like, and it's sickening to watch him too, because he did a lot of talk when he got over here, like, we're actually changing the culture. And it's like, no, you're putting makeup on a dead puppy in the middle of the street, and you're passing that off as like a supermodel. And it's like, we all know what that is. That dog got run over 8 years ago. It's just bones now. And you're putting lipstick on. You're saying, look, it's beautiful.
Well, speaking of beautiful, we normally, fluff our show up here with Eddie playing commercials and
ooh, it's that time again. It's Blue Barcade. Step into a Slim Jim.
And skits, stuff like that. But we don't.
We're serious as shit. We don't do poems. Fuck your poems, Eddie. Eat that.
We don't do any of that stuff. We cut straight to the business. We're keeping it short and sweet. If you like it, let us know. So
Eddie's like, type. More poems.
So we're gonna move on to the Packers game, and I have a special friend of mine, one of my best friends of all time. I'm gonna bring in here. He's a big old cheesehead, Justin Miller.
There he is.
And it's got all the shit with him.
Wait. Something's missing though. Hang on. All right, there we go.
That's it. I'm upset.
Go.
Oh, you've done it now. We gotta see what he comes up with here. Well, how are you? While he's I don't know, running to his bathroom or whatever he's doing.
He's probably going to get a hog head or something.
I'm upset, but I don't know where it is.
I love it, causing controversy already. I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Hoping the Pack can get back on track here.
Well, they've had a little bit of struggle this year. I was looking at some of their statistics. Let me see if I can share this here. Kind of had a little, let's see, share screen. Eddie always does this stuff, so I'm making it work.
Look, I'm a turncoat.
There we go. Oh my God. Where did you find that?
It was in the cheese section at my local Harris Teeter. No, I was in Green Bay in 2019, and I had to definitely get one of these guys.
Oh,
a little Lambo. What the heck? We don't want to see this commercial. Let's see here.
Where's Eddie when you need him? We lose Eddie, and now we're just watching truck commercials? Come on, Max.
What are you trying to find?
Oh, here we go. All right. I was pulling up the Green Bay Packers 2022. So they're 3-3 currently, second in the NFC North. Not a typical year for the Aaron Rodgers Packers. Whoops. Can you see that there? Okay, there we go. So what do you have to say for yourself about these things?
Well, I was hoping that the glaring loss of Davante Adams wouldn't rear its ugly head as much as it has, but it's to be a fairly big issue. However, Davante Adams didn't protect Aaron Rodgers when he played there, so that's become a big issue as well. Green Bay, I think, is 21st in sacks allowed this year, which it's always been that way. If you can get Aaron Rodgers on his backside a couple times early, he gets a little rattled. And I think that with Cobb being out, Cobb's been his go-to guy a little bit this year. He likes throwing to his boys. Not necessarily the guy that's always open, but he likes throwing to his boys, Lazard, Cobb. It's driven me crazy a few times. Romeo Doubs has been wide open. And ever since Christian Watson dropped that ball in the first game of the season, it would have been a 70-yard touchdown. He just doesn't seem to want to look his way anymore. So, I don't know.
Kind of looks like Lazard's taken over. He was out the first 2 weeks, and he's now leading the team in receptions, touchdowns, all that. So kind of looks like he's the one to stop if anybody, because you all don't have Cobb this week, from what I saw.
Yeah, he's a go-to. Yeah, we do not. Cobb's going to be out for 3 or 4 weeks, I think. Thought it was going to be worse. It ended up not being as bad as he thought. But Lazard is definitely the go-to guy, and I think Lazard is capable of being the number one guy. It's just the lack of speed, and it's been a problem in Green Bay for years. I mean, Davante Adams wasn't a big speed guy, but he was just a great route runner and knew the game really well. But Sammy Watkins is going to be back this week. The last game he played, he had 3 catches for 93 yards. So I think having him back, being able to maybe take the top off the defense a little bit is going to help Lazard a little bit, help Tunyon a little bit. So that's to get back. We'll see how long he can stay healthy. He might pull his hamstring getting off the bus, but
so I was doing a little research on the Packers today before this. I guess there was some comments made. I got Aaron Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee show, and I guess he mentioned that he was basically trying to get Aaron Rodgers to say that they need to get Aaron Jones more involved. And he just said simply to give Aaron Jones the ball. Or do you think that's been part of the problems, like the play calling?
I definitely think they need to rush the ball more. I think they're currently 15th in rush attempts per game, but they're averaging about 4.4 yards a carry. But you got a two-headed monster back there with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, and I think they both need to get at least 15 touches a game, whether that be running the ball or splitting them out wide. Aaron Jones is a great receiver also. But I would like to see them, whereas I think right now Green Bay's averaging about 24, 25 rush attempts a game. I'd like to see that closer to 30 or 35. Because they do have a good offensive line. They're just having a hard time pass blocking. But once Aaron Jones gets going and actually gets carries, he has great games and great potential. And bringing A.J. Dillon, Quadzilla, to load. So.
Yeah, looks like they're almost even in rushing attempts. Looks like Aaron Jones gets a few more receptions than he does, but Aaron Jones is averaging 5.8 yards a carry. So that was my frustration with Washington for pretty much all of our games, that we don't run the ball like we should. It's you see them break for yards and yards and yards, and then they just decide, hey, let's just throw the ball 20 times in a row now.
Especially because we don't have Aaron Rodgers sitting back there. We have Carson Doodly Wentz. And it's like, why aren't we running the ball more when we have an inept quarterback back there? I get it, if you have Aaron Rodgers, you can throw the ball all you want.
I'll say about Carson Wentz, I fear Taylor Heinicke more than I fear Carson Wentz.
You and everybody, even Carson Wentz's family, feels Taylor Heinicke more than Carson Wentz.
Yeah, absolutely. That being said, it's crazy. I looked it up before we got on here, just so you don't think I knew this, that Washington is like 4th in the NFL in pass attempts per game.
I believe that.
And they are 25th in rush defense or yards allowed. Green Bay's 27th, or it might be flipped the other way. So that being said, a good segue. Max told me to have 3 things that Washington could do to beat Green Bay. Run the ball. You're not going to pass on them. They have the number 1 pass defense in the league right now. Run it. Cram it down their throat. It's been a problem for years. They cannot stop the run.
So you know what that means? Ron Rivera will only pass the ball 63 times.
Yeah, you see this name here. Turner's got to go.
Yeah.
Our offensive play calling is horrendous. Just knowing that you all are like awful against the run, we'll probably run the ball once in the entire game.
That's what I'm saying. The game plan, Ron Rivera's like, you know what? I'm a riverboat guy. 98 passes.
Yeah. I was shocked when I looked that up, though, and I think it's like 38 pass attempts at least a game, and it was like 4th in the NFL.
What's funny is
it's not just because we're down. It's not just because we're down. They do it the entire game.
Right. So we're 4th in pass attempts. You know what? We're 1st in passes not near any receiver. We're number 1 in that because Carson Wentz just throws it 28 yards over people's heads constantly. Sorry, continue. Point number 2.
Oh, man. Number 2 would be to get to Aaron Rodgers early and often. Like I said, if you can rattle his cage a little bit, it tends to throw him off, I feel like, for the game a little more. He tries to hurry things up, tries to rush things, gets frustrated, especially now. I feel like he's still pretty calm in his interviews, but no offense, if they lose this game, it's probably time to hit the panic button, because they should not lose this game. I mean, let's be honest. But
Well,
fair.
I would specifically after the. Oh no, we'll do that. No, I'm going to stop myself. We'll do it after the third point. Third point, please.
Well, real quick, and I think that you the Commanders are in the top 10 in sacks as well. You got a couple guys in the top 10.
Montez Sweat.
What's the other guy?
Maybe Jonathan Allen or
yeah.
Okay.
And Green Bay, I think, is in top 10 as well. So that'll be an interesting thing there. Both of them going quarterback. Rashawn Gary, I think, is tied for second in the league with for sacks. Preston Smith's up there. So
that's our boy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, of course,
yeah. Yeah, I was. I'll be the first to admit that if I had to choose last year, if I had to choose between the two Smiths, I would have brought back Za'Darius. But after he went to Minnesota and has been running his mouth, and Preston Smith had a good year, so I'm glad he's back and having a good year. I liked them both, but I would have chose Za'Darius if I had to pick between the two. And the last one was get them to third down. They're like 23rd in the league in third down conversions, 3rd and 5 or longer, and especially with that pass rush, kind of pin their ears back and go after Aaron Rodgers. I think that's why it's so important for the Commanders to kind of establish the run and keep going after the run, get to Aaron Rodgers, get to play action, things like that, and just kind of pin their ears back and go after him. So you get them to third down, run the football, and what was the first thing I said? Sack
Rodgers.
Sack Rodgers.
So it's funny because you say things like, "Man, the Packers are like 25th in allowing sacks," or the Commanders are probably 32nd.
I'll tell you what, they one's 21st and one's 31st. Green Bay's 21st, and I had it written down here. And
we're 31st. You're like, man, you gotta get us on third down.
Yeah,
I can almost guarantee that we're 31st or 32nd in that one too.
I feel bad for whoever's 32nd.
You say 21st, I'm like, oh man, what's it like to be good?
Right. What's interesting about me saying this stuff, and I don't mean to be offensive, but Green Bay's been good for many years now, so it's kind of hard for me to be at 3-3 right now with Aaron Rodgers at the quarterback. But our similarities in rank, in passing efficiency, defensive efficiency, are very similar.
I get that.
Yeah,
that's why you're 3-3. I mean, we're Aaron Rodgers makes the difference, obviously, but yeah, I mean, we're 2-4. We beat Jacksonville and Chicago, two teams that don't have a winning record. So
I think it's funny when I talk to guys that are true Packers fans. One of my best friend growing up, he's a diehard Steelers fan. And every year, I think I might have told a story a few weeks ago on here. Every year it's the same thing. They start off 1-2, and he's just like, fire the owner, fire the coach, get rid of Roethlisberger. This is the worst team I've ever seen. And then 12 weeks later, they're 12-3. And I'm like, what? You were yelling at them before. What now? He's like, I was just angry. I'm not used to us being 1-2. I'm like, try being 4-12 for 30 years.
Yeah, that would be difficult. I definitely have a lot of respect. You guys are great fans. I know.
Am I?
Yeah, I mean.
Dun, 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 dun. Go, Pack, go. I am switching right here.
Nobody hates Packers outside of the NFC North. It's no reason to. They're a storied franchise. But no, I'm definitely not calling for anybody's job. I love Matt LaFleur. I think he's great.
Also, you're welcome.
All right. Yeah, I saw something today. It was like LaFleur, McVay were all on the Commander's staff at one point in time. That's pretty.
Shanahan, McFleur, McVay.
Yeah.
McFleur.
Yeah.
Whatever. All on the same coaching staff.
McShanahan, McFleur, and
McShanahan under Mike McShanahan, and we were a one-hit wonder once with RG3, considering the best rookie quarterback of the last 20 years that season, and we could only go 10-6, and then fell apart immediately after.
By the way,
with his ACL,
RG3, he's a huge Vols fan and a huge Hendon Hooker fan, so I'm becoming a huge RG3 fan.
Yeah, I was actually going to announce while you were on here, we're changing the name from Hoggin the Mic to Volin the Mic, or volunteering the mic, because That's the only good football I have to watch in my life right now, and it's surprising to me that we are seeing a Tennessee team this good.
I know, kind of ironic too, because I'd really be flipping it on its ear from hogging the mic to volunteering the mic.
Now we're givers.
Yeah.
We're no longer takers. We're givers.
Yeah. I told Max the other day, I was like, I knew I'd never be able to have it both ways. Green Bay's been good for years. Now Tennessee's good. So I'm not going to be able to have it both ways. But maybe not. Maybe they'll get it figured out. I think if they can get Sammy Watkins back going and Aaron Rodgers gets a little more faith in Romeo Doubs and Christian Watkins can come back and get healthy and not have a case of the dropsies. But he's had him his whole career. He had him in North Dakota State as well. That was the knock on him coming out of college. So, if it could have been a whole different season if he had caught that 70-yard bomb first game of the season against Minnesota and got Aaron Rodgers' faith. But I think Rodgers is one of those guys. He's a weird dude, man. Like he's
a weird
yeah.
Dude. Also, I've been saying that same thing about the 70-yard pass since 1992. So, sometimes it doesn't really make much of a difference.
Yeah.
Sometimes your team just is not great. I still have faith that the Packers are going to be fine. But when you're bad, you're bad. I've always I say it every year. It's like, man, what if we just beat those first 12 teams? Then we'd have a really good season.
Yeah. Well, I think for the Packers too this year, it's been more of Rodgers talked about it on McAfee, it's 12 guys doing 10 guys doing the right thing, one guy messing up. So it's like the last game had Cobb wide open for a 40-yard pass, but John Runyon missed the block and Rodgers got sacked instead of having 2 extra seconds to throw the ball. Another one was a missed block on a screen that Aaron Jones could have gone for 30 or 40 yards, but offensive lineman missed the block, and just little things like that. The plays are developing, but somebody's just not getting it. And I think that's what Roger was saying when he said simplify the playbook. But if I was
go ahead.
I would believe in Heinicke a little bit more so than Carson Wentz. I think he earned the right to start this year, honestly.
He did. We just never were going to do it because we paid Carson Wentz an exorbitant amount of money for no reason, which we do every year because it's a trickle-down effect from RG3 till now. I'm not going to go through all of it, but it's because we got burned once and we're still on fire. And here we are now with Carson Wentz because of RG3, basically.
Yeah.
So there's never any domino effect.
They literally made it a point to go into the offseason saying, we're going to call every team about their quarterback. They're like, we're calling the Chiefs about Patrick Mahomes. We're going to, and it was just, we ended up with Carson Wentz, and it was like, Carson Wentz is going to start. Heinicke never had a chance, sadly, because the capital we had to give up and what we pay Wentz. But honestly, anybody that's watching knows we need somebody with mobility in the backfield right now. Heinicke has that. Wentz does not. Wentz used to be fast. Wentz is no longer fast.
I told Max and Eddie this week because I hate Carson Wentz so much. And I told them when he got hurt that I want him to be so hurt that they have to name a surgery after Carson Wentz because it's so intense of the surgery that he needs. Because I don't want to see this guy play football anymore. That's how bad he's been for us.
Jeez. I know. This is what we have to deal with.
Surgery, like ankle or something like that.
That's just brain. You're an idiot. You need Carson Wentz surgery.
Yeah. Okay.
He wants a surgery that recovery time lasts until his
8 to 10 years minimum
until his contract's up.
Right, yes. When your contract's over, you're healed.
How long is his contract for?
I think
27 years.
No, I think they can escape from it either after this year or next year without a big penalty. I think they can get out of it, after the season if they really want to, but it may be a cap hit.
Well, the contract says if Snyder goes to prison, Carson Wentz has to start every game until he's legally dead.
Well,
probably.
If Hunt gets in there and turns it around, that's good. You've got your guy. But if not, there's an embarrassment of riches of quarterbacks coming out of college next year. We have Sam Howell. I feel like if we, end up going 2-10, we may see him. But I don't think we'll see him this year unless it's that bad.
We won't see Howell unless we're out of the playoffs. If we're mathematically eliminated, Howell goes in.
Where did he go?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
Yeah,
Now-
he was pretty good there. He was projected actually his junior year. They said he could go in the first round. He stayed, pretty much lost his entire team, his offensive line and his wide receivers, and he ended up going first pick of the 5th round to us. So I think he's pretty good. I think he's got some talent, and we need to find out, because if we're that bad and we have a high draft pick, which we likely will, you got to know whether you need a quarterback or not.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we do any predictions about this Sunday, I specifically want to go in depth for 30 minutes each on specifically the 2016 and 2018 Redskin Packers games that we played you guys in the past. I'm joking, but it's the only 2 times that we've killed you guys, and it felt great.
Yeah.
For some reason, we've kind of like, out of all the teams, because we don't beat anybody anymore, and we, except, even the bad teams we don't beat. You should see our record against the Lions and the Bears and teams like that. The Packers, we have 2 of our biggest wins. And when I say biggest, please don't get a big old cheese head, because we don't win very often. But like 2 of our big, and you can ask Redskin fans, our 2 biggest wins probably in the last like 5 years, regular season, both Packers. You guys came to the field and we murdered you for no good reason during a season where it was like kind of good.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. It was like, cool. I don't know how that happened, but it happened.
There's an infamous game that happened back in, I want to say it was probably like,
I know exactly what you're about to say.
2000. Let's see. I think it was probably this game in 2010. It's the infamous kick off the uprights that Miller also made the sound when he hit the pole in my basement about how mad he was. It was like boom, upright, boom, Miller hitting the pole because Washington won.
Yep.
I remember that, to be honest.
That's when Mason Crossbar was born.
That's right. I do remember that. Here's the statistics for the overall record. These were the most recent games here.
I was gonna say, don't show anything before 2016, please, because it's nothing but Packers beating us for 48 straight years.
So this game right here, the most recent, the 2021, that was a Taylor Heinicke game. If you remember, he dominated in between the 20s, and then once he got down to the red zone, he could do nothing right.
Taylor Heinicke, that's the only thing I'm concerned, is not a good red zone quarterback.
So it looks like the Packers won the last 2 against us. We won 2 before that.
By the way, that 2015 game in 2019, that's where I was getting this guy.
Overall, the Packers have a record of 20-15-1 against the supposed Washington football team. Also, that reminds me, Taylor Heinicke, best football team quarterback of all time.
Yep, absolutely. Legend.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
absolute legend. All right, so let's do some predictions then.
That being said, yes, let's get to our predictions.
I'm guessing Eddie has his journal of angry scribbles with the records.
He does.
Is he usually on here?
Yeah, Eddie's usually on here, but he's coming back from Portugal today, and this was the only day we could get it together. So
he would be coming back from somewhere like Portugal.
We're wondering what he's going to bring back from Portugal. What kind of Eddie disease?
It's going to be this, but just Portuguese food.
Yes.
So, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I'm in the lead after last week. I was the only one to pick Washington to beat the Bears, so I felt good about that.
Wasn't that even a win though? You should get a loss for that game too.
So I got a 1-game lead on Kenny and Eddie. I think our guest hosts are let's see, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4. I think the guest hosts are 4-1 so far this season. So
smarter than us.
Yeah.
That's because we're driven by hatred.
The only reason we have a loss in the loss column is because we had 2 guest hosts last week, and they picked opposite. So usually the guest hosts know what's going to happen. So the Vegas odds for the Washington Commanders and Green Bay Packers game, the Packers are favored 5 points currently.
Oh, it moved. 5.5.
Yeah, actually, sorry, it moved. It's now 4.5.
Heinicke effect.
The
That's
Heinicke
right.
effect.
Give it 3 more
4.5.
days, we'll be favored by 12.
4.5 is the current line. The game is at Washington. 41.5 is the over/under. So, as the good stewards that we are, Miller, we'll let you pick first.
Well, I thought about that quite a bit. I think Green Bay's right around averaging 21 points a game. Washington's around the same, 22. I think they're both allowing around 17 points a game. But I think the difference in this one, I wish I could give 2 score predictions. It really just depends
You
on.
can.
Okay, all right.
This is an official podcast.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to give 2 score predictions then, okay? If Washington runs the football more than 30 times, they will win 20-13.
Okay.
Write that down, Max. We got a stipulation.
If they don't, and Green Bay Sammy Watkins gets back healthy, we can protect Aaron Rodgers. I'm going Green Bay 24, Washington 17.
So more than likely the second one because we
We'll
probably run the ball like twice.
It's going to be Green Bay 24, Washington 17. But
all right,
if they game plan and run the ball, I think they got a much better chance.
Fair enough. Would this be probably the worst record that Aaron Rodgers has through 7 games if we do pull off the upset?
No, I don't. I mean, we didn't make the playoffs in 2017, 2018. It was so.
Must be nice to have to think of the 1 year you didn't make the playoffs. Hey, let me go. 1992, 1993, 1994, 1995. I'm not going to do it, but I could.
Last years of Mike McCarthy, they struggled to get to 8-8, 10-6 even. So
if we go 10-6, there's a parade in Washington D.C. for like years.
Yeah. I was never. Yeah. Anyway, I could talk about Mike McCarthy all day too. But anyway, that's my story.
Isn't that weird seeing him in Dallas?
It is. It's funny. I predicted we've got a good friend who is a big Dallas fan, and I told him, I was like, what you're gonna find about Mike McCarthy is he's the worst game manager, worst clock manager in the history of football. And I think after week 2, he was like, wow, you were right. He doesn't know when to call timeout, doesn't know
Ron Rivera rivals that.
We were talking last week about how we were all yelling at the screen to call timeout, and he was just standing there like this, like fussing at the referees.
Cost us 3 points, which would have won us the game if he had just called a timeout with 50 seconds left.
Kind of been a bit of an epidemic this year with coaches not calling timeout. You get Nathaniel Hackett out in Denver.
Hackett's the worst coach in NFL history, but behind Urban Meyer.
You're welcome. He came from Green Bay. Everybody was so upset when he left, and then now he's just a bum out there in Denver.
So. He is so dumb.
Yeah. I also forgot to mention, you all have another ex-Washington coach, your defensive coordinator, Joe Barry.
Well, you can have him back.
No, we hated him when he signed with us.
I don't know how that guy still has jobs. He's finished 30th overall, 31st overall, 27th overall.
And he's doing it with an unprecedented amount of talent on this ball. I mean, we have 2 of the best cornerbacks in the league, one of the best edge rushers. It's just one of the best middle linebackers. And
he is not good.
Horrible. That's the one I will cry wolf on, Joe Barry. I could do without him.
Fair enough. All right. So my prediction is Green Bay will score 20 and Washington will score 16.
That's just very simple. By the book.
Because I know you're going to talk for an hour.
No, I'm not.
No, prediction.
The Washington Commanders walked into Chicago and put up one of the worst performances I have seen with my own eyeballs. This week, they host a much better team in the Green Bay Packers. But Taylor Heinicke is starting in place of the dead forever, fingers crossed, Carson Wentz.
Pun
A
intended.
new quarterback means that the Washington Commanders will win this football game 44-38 in overtime.
Oh my!
Wow.
44-38.
Golly, we're going to have Tennessee, Alabama all over again.
Listen, this is the last week I have hope all season long. If Taylor Heinicke looks awful, I'm done predicting wins. I told you last week, Carson Wentz was the last, or with Carson Wentz, I was done predicting wins, which I never do with this team. If Carson Wentz started, it was a loss. And he's proved me wrong by having the worst football game, because the Bears are even worse. Taylor Heinicke gives me hope. I said it's that much hope. It's back, and I'll have it for 1 week. When the Packers win this game by 78 points, it's over. I'm back to being sad.
I just got a text from Eddie. It says like some random words in Portuguese. I think this one means Packers, and he says 77-0.
Did he actually say that? Because that's hilarious if that's true.
No,
Okay.
He didn't actually say that. But that's Eddie's pick. 77-0 Packers.
Write it down.
Write it down. We'll get his official pick later and post it on the social media. But it's been fun. Is there anything else that we need to discuss?
I don't think so. I'm going to the game, obviously. The weather turned sour over the last 5 days. It's supposed to be like a beautiful 70-degree sunny day. Now it's rain. Now it's in the low 60s, but I'll take that for October.
Hey,
but I'll be there.
good recipe to run the football for both teams. Both of our teams run the football.
You would think
True.
so. We ain't going to do it.
Well,
So-
we're not. We both have. I'll tell you what we have in common. We both have horrible rush defenses. So there you go.
There you go. So maybe we'll just see a bunch of like 70-yard rushes. Everybody start Green Bay and Washington's running backs in fantasy. That's our best advice. Miller, you have your own podcast. Has that been canceled? Because we haven't seen an episode lately. Or would you like to plug your show?
Cheese in the mic.
We haven't done it in a while. No, it doesn't even have anything to do with sports. We have not done it in a while. It hasn't been canceled. We just we hit a standstill on some of our side hustle businesses and got so busy with our actual jobs that we didn't really have anything to talk about. So
Fair
it
enough.
will
if
podcast. Come
If
check it
we
out.
watch this football team every week and we have things to talk about, y'all can come up with stuff to talk about. I had to watch a 7-12 football game and do an hour-plus podcast on it, and here we are.
Well,
Basically,
what people
about we will do a side hustle and then report on how it worked, how we did it, and how much money we lost or made. But we haven't done it in a couple months. So that's
it's actually very interesting. It's called scheming.
yeah.
And I was going to say this secret about our podcast that everybody doesn't see, that an hour before the show, we actually
cry.
we
get on
actually
here and
log
cry,
on.
so our emotions are gone before we get on here.
Yeah, we got to and then we put our, wipe off our tears, make our eyes look good. And, then we start the show. So,
What were you really going to say?
No, that was it.
That we cry?
I was going to say that I'll watch you cry for an hour, but
Okay.
I'll just pretend that I did it with you.
Hope the cheese is back on.
Go Green Bay.
So
Fuck,
Kenny,
Command.
the lone Packer predictor. Do you have any final words?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, Taylor Heinicke is going to be the FedEx, I don't even know what it's called, Air in the Wind Player of the Week this week.
Air in the wind, player in the week. Miller, any final thoughts?
No, I think that this will be the game that determines how the rest of the season goes, because Green Bay's got Buffalo after this. So
Ooh. Well,
Yeah.
we're a warm-up game. Maybe I'll be looking ahead.
Looking past us. Here we go. 44-38.
if we were 5-1, I would say maybe we might be looking past it, but no, they have to win this game. Jair Alexander said before the Jets game, "Well, I'm not worried yet, but if we lose to the Jets, I will be worried." And so, And
Very
everybody,
true.
I really wish he wouldn't have said that, but yeah.
Fair enough. Well, my final thoughts are like and subscribe our video on YouTube, like us on Facebook and Twitter, all that fun stuff. We even have Instagram and TikTok if you want to look us up. Hoggin the mic.
Look, I'm TikToking.
Soon to be
everybody, volunteering the mic. We're gonna change everything orange once we lose this week, and just put shrines to Hendon Hooker for everybody to worship. All right, I don't have any funny catchphrases to say like Eddie.
No, we got to do the Eddie thing. Like, all right, so for Miller Head Cheese, Green Bay, and I'm Kenny Shake behind me, Alvo, and for Max, Turner's got to go. Bacon, remember, if the clouds aren't clear and the sun's always shining, see ya. And then he does the Benny Hill thing, and then we sign off.
Oh,
by the way, that's better than anything Eddie's ever said. There it is.